The parking lot of Maplewood Elementary was unusually quiet that morning. The sky hung low and gray, threatening rain, and parents stood in small clusters beside shiny SUVs and polished sedans, chatting casually as their children rushed toward the school entrance. And right in the middle of that polished crowd stood a man who clearly didn't belong. Daniel Carter shifted uncomfortably beside his 10-year-old daughter, Lily. His worn jacket looked out of place among the designer coats surrounding him. His old pickup truck, faded and scratched from years of hard work, sat at the far end of the parking lot like an embarrassing secret he wished he could hide. But the real storm hadn't arrived yet. It came walking across the pavement in high heels, his ex-wife. Jessica Carter stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, her perfectly styled hair barely moving in the cold wind. The expensive handbag on her shoulder probably cost more than Daniel earned in a month. Her eyes swept over him from head to toe, and the smirk that followed cut deeper than any words could. Daniel felt the familiar sting of humiliation crawl up his neck. This wasn't the first time she'd done this, but today, it felt worse. Before we continue this emotional story, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us humanity still exists, please like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life. Jessica let out a quiet laugh that several nearby parents heard. Daniel could already feel their eyes, the whispers, the judgment, the silent comparisons. Jessica had remarried a wealthy businessman 2 years earlier. Her life had transformed into one of luxury vacations, charity galas, and private school fundraisers. Meanwhile, Daniel's life had gone in the opposite direction. When their marriage collapsed, so did his career. The construction company he had worked for shut down shortly after the divorce. What followed were years of struggling to rebuild his life while raising Lily almost entirely on his own. 2 jobs, late nights, early mornings, and constant worry about bills. But none of that hurt as much as watching Lily notice how different their lives were from everyone else's. Jessica's voice cut through the air again, loud enough for several parents to hear. Daniel stared at the pavement, trying to ignore the words that stung worse than winter wind. He had learned long ago that arguing with Jessica never helped. It only made things worse. Lily stood quietly beside him, clutching her backpack straps. Daniel noticed the way her small shoulders tensed. That hurt more than anything. He gently placed a hand on her back, hoping she wouldn't feel ashamed of him. But humiliation was becoming a routine part of his life. Jessica kept talking, enjoying the audience forming around them. Some parents tried pretending not to listen. Others clearly were. Daniel felt smaller with every passing second. He wondered how many of them believed he was exactly what Jessica described, a failure, a man who had lost everything, a father who couldn't provide the same life their children enjoyed. He opened his mouth to say something, but the words wouldn't come. Then something unexpected happened. The deep rumble of an engine echoed across the parking lot. Heads began turning. Even Jessica paused mid-sentence. A sleek black luxury car slowly rolled into the school entrance. It wasn't the kind of car people in Maplewood saw every day. The glossy paint reflected the cloudy sky like a mirror. The wheels alone probably cost more than Daniel's entire truck. The car stopped directly behind Daniel. The engine went silent. For a moment, nobody moved. Parents stared. Children whispered. Even Jessica's confident expression flickered with curiosity. Then the back door of the car opened. A tall man stepped out. He wore a perfectly tailored suit and carried himself with quiet authority. His silver hair and calm expression made him look like someone who was used to commanding attention without saying a word. Several parents gasped softly, because many of them recognized him. Oliver Grant, one of the most powerful billionaires in the state, the founder of Grant Industries, a man whose companies employed thousands, and whose wealth was the subject of countless magazine covers and business articles. The entire parking lot seemed to freeze as Oliver Grant calmly closed the car door. But what happened next shocked everyone even more. Instead of walking toward the school entrance, he walked straight toward Daniel. Jessica's smile vanished. Daniel blinked in confusion. Surely this man wasn't approaching him, but he was, step by step, across the pavement, until he stopped right in front of Daniel. For a moment, Daniel thought there must be some mistake. Maybe the billionaire was looking for someone behind him, but Oliver Grant's eyes were locked directly on him. And then the billionaire did something that stunned every parent watching. He smiled warmly and placed a respectful hand on Daniel's shoulder. The entire parking lot fell silent. Daniel felt like the world had suddenly tilted sideways. He had never met this man before, at least, not in any way he could remember. Yet Oliver Grant looked at him with the familiarity of someone greeting an old friend. The billionaire's calm presence immediately changed the energy in the air. Jessica's confident posture stiffened. Parents leaned closer, trying to hear. Lily looked up at Daniel with wide eyes. Oliver Grant's voice was calm but powerful enough for everyone nearby to hear. Daniel felt his heart pounding. Memories flashed through his mind. 3 years earlier, a rainy night, a highway accident, and a stranger trapped inside a burning car. Daniel had pulled over that night without thinking. He hadn't asked who the driver was. He hadn't considered the risk. He had simply reacted, breaking the car window, dragging the unconscious man out moments before the vehicle burst into flames. The ambulance arrived soon after. Police asked questions, but Daniel never learned the identity of the man he saved. He had gone home that night thinking it was just one of those moments where you do the right thing and move on. He never imagined the man in that car would remember, or that he would be standing in front of him now. Oliver Grant looked around the parking lot briefly. His eyes landed on Jessica, then back to Daniel. There was something protective in his expression, something deeply respectful. Daniel could see that this man wasn't here for a casual greeting. He was here for something more. Jessica tried to recover her composure, stepping forward with a polite smile that felt forced. But Oliver Grant barely acknowledged her. His attention remained on Daniel and Lily. He crouched slightly so he could look Lily in the eyes. The little girl stood very still, unsure what was happening. Then the billionaire smiled gently. And something about that moment felt powerful. Because for the first time that morning, Lily looked proud of her father. Parents nearby exchanged confused glances. The man they had just watched being mocked now stood beside one of the most influential figures in the country. Daniel still felt overwhelmed. He had never cared about recognition for helping that stranger. But now he realized something important. Kindness doesn't disappear. Sometimes it simply waits for the right moment to return. Oliver Grant stood again, his presence commanding the space around them. The billionaire's next words changed everything. But before we reach the final moments of this powerful story, we'd love to hear from you. If you believe that kindness always comes back in unexpected ways, write the word kindness in the comments right now. The morning air felt different now. Jessica no longer looked confident. The parents who had watched silently now looked uncertain. And Daniel, who had walked into the parking lot feeling small, suddenly realized something important. He had never been a failure. He had simply been walking a harder road. Oliver Grant's voice carried a calm strength as he continued speaking about the night that changed both of their lives. He described waking up in the hospital after the accident, doctors explaining how close he had come to dying, and investigators telling him about the man who pulled him from the wreckage. For years, Oliver had searched quietly for the stranger who saved him, and when he finally found Daniel's name through old police records, he didn't just want to thank him. He wanted to make sure the man who saved his life knew how much that moment mattered. Jessica's face slowly drained of color. The whispers in the parking lot grew louder. Daniel wasn't a failure. He was a hero. A man who risked his life for a stranger. And now that stranger stood beside him as one of the most powerful people in the world. But the most emotional moment came when Lily slipped her hand into Daniel's. Her eyes sparkled with pride. For the first time in a long time, Daniel didn't feel embarrassed standing in that parking lot. He felt seen, respected, valued. Oliver Grant gave Daniel one final grateful look before heading toward the school entrance. But the impact of that morning would last far longer than a single conversation. Because sometimes the world mocks quiet kindness. Sometimes it misunderstands sacrifice. But eventually, the truth finds its way into the light. And before this story ends, if it touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this. Because kindness, no matter how small it seems in the moment, can change lives in ways we never expect.